Hello, everybody. Hi. How are we all doing? I hope we're well. Oh, where's that? Let me see. Hi. Hello, everybody. Well done for getting here and being on time. I hope that you weren't hanging around too much. I'm not going to allow you to record because I'm going to send a recording out of the of this masterclass. So I'm not going to allow you to record, just so as you know that. But yes, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so grateful for you to be here. I would love it if you are, as you're joining me, let me know in the comments there where you're joining me from and what your name is, especially if you haven't got your name showing. I know we've got some phones and owner in there. Let me know. What your name is, where you're joining me from, and what is the one thing that you really want to take away from this masterclass, because I've had some lovely emails back from the some responses back, I should say, from the emails I sent out earlier this week. And so, yeah, definitely some amazing stuff coming up in them. But yeah, let me know. I would love it if you just share in the comments there. I know we've got, I think it was about 120 people actually signed up for the masterclass. Not everybody ever shows up because that's just what happens. But yeah, so I'm hoping there will be a few more people join us kind of as we get started now. So we have got Anne. And was that you who I was just emailing with just a few minutes ago? We had a bit of drama with the whole haven't got my invitation. We've got Debbie here from Lincoln. We've got Stacy from DC. Amazing. We've got Heather joining us from Oklahoma. And that's the other thing, is we have got people joining us from all around the world here today. So yeah, let me know which part of the world you're actually joining me from, because I just like knowing. I like kind of feeling like I'm kind of stretching out into the world there. Ashley, we have got Ashley here from Newport in Kentucky. Amazing. The other thing I'm going to ask you guys to help me, because I love it when I can see who I'm speaking to, please do feel free to put your cameras on. I love seeing who it is that's here and who I'm speaking to. I've got Dawn there, lovely Dawn from Aberdeenshire, up the road quite a bit from me. Yeah, so welcome. Hi, I can see Jeff, thank you for putting your camera on. Well done. I'm just going to get my screen set up so that I'm going to do a screen share so that you can, I've got some, what are they called, slides that I'm going to be sharing with you. I'm going to get those ready and get that set up for you. Let's share that one. So you should be able to see that now. Can I get a little thumbs up if you can see my, yep, wonderful, thank you. And oh yeah, we've got Ashley is showing us her face as well. Thank you so much, Ashley. Appreciate that. It really, like I say, it actually just it helps me because I don't feel like I'm just talking to a computer screen. It can get a little bit lonely here, just talking to a computer screen. Let me just, I'm just getting it set up so that I can see all the comments and everything. So, like I say, if you're just joining us, please do let me know what your name is and where you're joining me from. Stacey, don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry. I saw it was a note taker thing, but it's fine. Not a problem. Yeah, let me know where you're joining me from, what your name is, and what's one thing you really want to get from this masterclass. If you're able to email me, thank you for doing that, because I really appreciate that. It just helps me to make sure that I'm on the right track. And I know we've had some lovely emails in already. Got Alice here from Cheltenham. Welcome, Alice. Good to see you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get going, get started. Let me see. Oh, we've got Ashley here from Delaware. Oh, no, sorry, you're so unwell. Oh, that's a shame. And we've got Jeff here from Jacksonville in Florida. Amazing. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody, for that. So, yes, a couple of things, just a bit of housekeeping kind of stuff, I suppose, really. Please do make sure that you have got pen and paper handy, because I'm going to be asking you to make sure that we're going to build on this. We're going to build with the idea, the intention being, we're going to do something. We're actually going to do some work at the end of this masterclass. Yeah, we're going to take action. So please do make sure you engage, because the more you engage in this, it's kind of a proven thing, proven fact, that the more you engage, the more you're going to take away from it. Obviously, you've given up an hour of your time this evening to come and join me. And, obviously the idea being that you take something away from it. So please do engage, squeeze all the juice out of this as much as you can possibly can, so that it kind of feels like it was a good use of your time. Yeah. What else have I got to say? Yeah, obviously, if something resonates, then let me know. Just pop it in the chat there. Let me know what's coming up for you, what you're feeling is resonating, what feels appropriate, what feels yeah, good, bad, whatever. Let's get going. So, hello, everybody. My name is Anita McKenna, and I am a transformation life coach and an integrative counsellor. And kind of over the past, we're on 13 years now, I've worked with hundreds of different clients on many different areas of their lives. But one of the things that is kind of really apparent is boundaries can be a real challenge for people. People really struggle with kind of upholding, kind of putting boundaries in place and upholding them. And the clients that I've worked with over this past sort of 13, 14 years, I will be sharing some of their stories with you, as well as some of my own stories, just because I think it's really helpful to understand, get some context of kind of some of the stuff that I'm speaking about. This is not a sales pitch, and I do just want to clarify that 100% right from the front. However, I will be inviting you to book a call with me if that felt like a right thing for you to do it. And I just want to be really transparent about that. If you felt it would be helpful for you to kind of speak with me further, then I'm going to make an invitation at the end about that. But there is nothing for sale today. I just want to make that really, really clear. So I hope that that's okay, that, that's how we're going to do this. I'm going to give you lots of free information. And if you felt it would be in your interest to speak further with me, then you're more than welcome to do that. And I'll obviously be sharing the way you can do that at the end. Yeah. So let's get started. So first of all, we are going to look at who you learned about boundaries from. And whenever I say this, people always say, well, I didn't really learn from anybody. Nobody taught me about boundaries. And I appreciate that actually, generally, we're never kind of sat down and taught about boundaries. We're never kind of given information, direct information. But it's a bit like, like we learn about love and we learn about relationships just from our experiences. It's that kind of thing. So it's beginning to look at, in your life, generally it's in childhood, where did you learn about boundaries? Who kind of demonstrated boundaries to you? And they may have been good, they may have been, not so good. And I know for me, one of the crucial people for me was my mum. And my mum was quite critical when I was growing up. Or I certainly felt she was quite critical, whatever I was talking about, whatever I did. I always felt that there was a kind of a bit of a criticism behind any comment that she would make about it. And that meant that as I went into adulthood, every time I heard her say something, I would hear it as a criticism. I would always hear that criticism in her voice. And I know it was a few years ago now, it was just in the lockdown period. And I think we must have been a year in, and I know that from my age. And it was a glorious sunny day. And we were out, we were kind of shopping somewhere, and glorious sunny day. And every time the sun hits my chest, it goes red. It's not burnt or anything. It just gets red. It just kind of reacts to the heat. And my mum's there and she's going, oh, you need to get some sun cream on that. It's going to burn. You're going to ruin your skin. And I remember in that moment kind of going, Mum, it's okay. I can take care of myself. I'm 51. That's how I know when it was. I'm 51. I can take care of myself now. You don't need to look after me this way. And it was just me kind of putting that lovely boundary in for myself around, I don't need to be triggered by her kind of saying about me putting sun cream on. I don't need to respond. I don't need to go back into that angry teenager that I was. Oh, Mom, God, stop going on about it all the time. The way we do. And I didn't need to go that. I didn't need to step back into that space again. Actually, I could be very adult about it and choose not to take it personally. So thinking about that, thinking about, kind of who demonstrated boundaries to us, and again, whether they were good or bad, who do you recognize from your childhood that kind of did that for you? Who did you learn about boundaries from? And it can be, we can look at it from lots of different perspectives of, it might be that mum had really low boundaries, and so then whenever anybody asked for anything, she would always, comply. She was a proper people pleaser, so she didn't know how to kind of assert her boundaries. Or it might be, that actually mum was very strong in her boundaries, and nobody ever kind of crossed her boundaries because she would put you in your place. So thinking about that, and I would love for you to put it into the chat if you felt able to. If you're not going to put it in the chat, please do, at the very least, write this down, because like I say, we are building on something here, and I want you to have something at the end of this that you feel you can actually do something with. I want it to be an experience where you take stuff away, practical stuff that you can implement. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to pop that in there, I would love it if you put something in the chat. And I'm going to continue on while you kind of put some details in there. So yeah, we've got Anne saying parents, school teachers and friends. Yeah. And it is kind of recognizing all of those different people, isn't it, that kind of have an impact on those areas for us. So next, we're going to look at who we can't say no to. And I'm specifically talking about boundaries in relationships when I say this. So who can't we say no to? What's going on for us when we can't say no? And often it's because we just don't feel safe. We don't feel safe to say no. And it's kind of like a basic human need that we kind of need to feel safe. We need to feel we belong. If we say no, and I know that somebody said this in one of the email responses I got, if we say no, we feel we're going to disappoint them. They may kind of cast us out. They may, like on a dead basic human level, if we are cast out of the tribe, we won't survive. Yeah, it's a human kind of, not sure what the word is. I'm just going to say condition. It's not condition. It's not the right word, but it's a human need to feel we belong within the tribe. We are safe within the tribe. And kind of, the basic human thing is we must survive. We will do anything we possibly can to survive. So if we're saying no to somebody and we feel that they're going to be disappointed and they might cast us out, we might not survive that. So we will always do everything we can to survive and to stay kind of feeling like we belong. And this kind of reminds me of a client I was working with, last year now, and she was quite successful. She director level within her industry, and so she was working crazy hours, which wasn't great, but it's what she was doing. She was kind of doing, I don't know, 60, 70 hours a week. She was taking care of her own home, kind of maintaining her own garden, but her mum expected her to maintain her garden as well. And my clients kind of go, oh, I just haven't got the time. I haven't got the energy to do all this, So we kind of looked at what could she do. She didn't feel able to just say no to her mum, but she absolutely didn't want to continue doing it. So we looked at how she might manage that in a way that felt okay for her. How might she put a boundary in there for herself to support herself? And what she actually did was she gave her mum the phone numbers of 3 local gardeners, and just kind of said, I can't do it. I haven't got time to do your garden anymore, but here's some gardeners' numbers. So you can choose which one you want to work with, which one you want to ask to come do your garden. And it was really lovely because my client didn't feel she was letting her mum down. She didn't feel any of that. And it's not necessary, but she didn't feel any of that guilt. She didn't feel bad about it because she'd given her mum a solution. But she'd also given the responsibility back to her mum because she'd kind of taken on the responsibility of maintaining the garden. So she'd given that back to her mum as well. So just kind of looking at it from that perspective, who is it in your life that you really struggle to say no to, even if you don't want to say yes? Who is it that you struggle? Again, kind of making sure that we're making a note of this, we're putting it down. If you want to share it in the group, that's great. And we've got a couple of others there about kind of where we learned about boundaries. We've got mom, grandparents, counsellors, more parents and siblings. Yeah, siblings can be challenging. I'm one of 3 sorry, one of four girls. Yeah, number 3 out of 4 girls. Yeah. So next we are going to look at what your boundaries are like today. And this is a really important thing for us to do, to kind of just get a bit of a baseline, understand where we're at today. And so it's kind of just reflecting on, how you feel your boundaries are as of today. Do you feel that they're strong? Do you feel they're weak? Do you feel that they're somewhere in the middle? And I know I did a poll on LinkedIn. It's probably a couple of months ago now, actually. And 50% of the people that responded said, it depends. And it kind of depends on who they're trying to have boundaries with, who it is that they're dealing with. With some people, they were amazing. And certainly my client I was just speaking about, she was amazing in her work life. She had such good boundaries, nobody kind of took liberties with her. But her mom, she just really struggled with those boundaries, really, really found it hard. So for you, where do you feel your boundaries are? Do you feel your boundaries are lovely and strong? Do you feel that yours might be quite weak? Or does it depend? Does it depend who you're dealing with? And Stacey just said there, she wants people to like her. And that's such a common thing, isn't it? We're afraid that if we say no to somebody, people might not like us. And then we'll get cast out, and then we'll be abandoned, and we won't survive. So it kind of is always that rolling effect, that what do you call it? Knock-on effect kind of thing. Yeah. So for you, where do you feel your boundaries are today? Obviously, I'm guessing the fact that you've joined this masterclass means that there's some areas in your life where you feel that they're perhaps not where you'd like them to be. There's certain areas where you feel that they're not where you'd like them to be. So whether that is kind of, it for you, it depends, or whether it is actually it's more about kind of just wanting to create healthier boundaries all around. Yeah. Oh gosh, let me just get that. My chat box is a bit small. So who's this? Amber's saying boundaries are different personally and professionally, and it is quite common that we are often quite good one area compared to another. One is me starting to protect my peace personally, and professionally I don't want to interfere with being that valuable employee. It's funny, I've got a client who I've literally worked with this morning who really struggles with that, feeling that she's going to let people down at work, loving the sense of indispensability almost. Yeah. So next we're going to look at what would better boundaries look like. And this is very personal to you. It's very personal to your situation, your relationships, your kind of environment. So it's not necessarily, it's certainly not going to be the same for everybody. For some people, they will know that, they have lovely boundaries at work, but personally, they really struggle, or vice versa. So it's kind of looking at what would those better boundaries look like, and what would they give you? Because the reality is, and this is something that I always forget, is the reality is nobody really cares about boundaries. Nobody cares what they are. They want the outcome. They want the outcome of having healthier boundaries. So it's looking at that. So if you felt you had better boundaries, what would that look like for you in your life? What impact would that have on your life? Yeah. I'm just going to read some of those comments before they disappear, because otherwise I won't catch them. Kurt's saying boundaries is a new concept and new word for me. Gosh, that's really powerful, isn't it? Does anyone feel like creating boundaries make you a cranky individual? Okay. I feel I'm developing more boundaries, but I feel more of a mean individual, and that's a little uncomfortable. Okay, I'm going to come to that in a bit. So that's Ashley. Yes, I will come back to that in a bit, Ashley, because I cover that a bit further on. I want people to like me and accept me. I'm a people pleaser. So many people are, unfortunately, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I struggle personally and professionally with boundaries. Thank you for saying that. I'm always worried about upsetting people. Yeah. Definitely have very strong boundaries at work and will voice them proudly. Well done. But at home with my daughter and mom, it's completely different. And it's crazy, isn't it? That we can be such an amazing, assertive person in one area, and kind of almost go to pieces in another. So when we're looking at better boundaries, I know one of the things that I've done personally for myself, so I have a daughter who is very nearly 16. She'll be 16 on Monday. But she's also a teenager, challenges. Me and her dad unfortunately split up when she was a tiny baby. And since then, the relationship between us has been difficult, certainly to say the least, at times. And it meant that every time we spoke on the phone, we ended up arguing literally every single time. And it was because both of us were coming from a place of hurt and guilt. I think there was a lot of like mixed feelings, a lot of emotions there. And I kind of curated my life. I don't have drama in my life anymore. I don't have people that I argue with other than my daughter. I don't have people in my life who I argue with anymore because I don't keep hold of them. My boundaries are really good generally. And I didn't want to keep arguing with him. I didn't want to be in that space of, getting angry and het up and stuff. So I actually put a lovely boundary in for myself of just not answering the phone to him anymore. And what that means is I don't react. I'm not kind of seeing the phone ring and go, oh my God, what's he want now? I choose not to answer. And then 20 or 30 minutes later, I'll send him a text and say, can't speak now. Is everything okay? And 9 times out of 10, he'll just say what it is that he wants by text. Occasionally we'll have to speak about something, but even then I'll be prepared. I'll have got myself in that space of, right, this is how I want to present myself, which just means I am the person that I want to be. It's nothing to do with him. It's who I am. And it's because I've put that boundary in there of not reacting, not responding to the phone call, to choose how I kind of show up in that space. So again, I'm going to come back to you about kind of what would better boundaries look like for you, kind of beginning to look in your life. So for me, not answering the phone means that I get to feel calm. I get to feel more in control, which is so important to me. And I think that as humans, that's a really important feeling to have, feeling more in control in our lives. But also I get certainty. So, the fact that I'm not kind of just reacting to a phone call, I get that certainty of either I'm not going to speak to him at all, or if I do, I choose how I respond. Yeah. So what would you say is for you? What would be what would better boundaries look like for you? And what would that feel like for you? So Amber's saying I struggle with setting boundaries, but also wanting to feel heard. So yeah, reactive is hard at times. Yeah. So saying I'm worried about introducing boundaries into existing relationships, and like Heather, worried that they'll be taken as being cranky and not well received. Yeah, and I like I said, I will be coming to that specifically later on in the presentation. So yeah, for you, and if you're not putting it into the comments there, please do make sure you're writing it down, because I really want you to kind of know where we're going, know where you're going specifically. So next, we're going to look at where is your weakest boundary. And for me, I've got 2 areas in particular. And, I am really good at boundaries. This is kind of what I live and breathe. But I'm still human. And so I still have challenges in this. I am far from perfect with my boundaries. And I want you to know that, because I think people sometimes think that people who talk about this kind of stuff, they portray a perfection. No, I'm human. I still have difficulties. So one of my weakest boundaries is with my daughter. Like I say, she's 15, very nearly 16, and she's very good at being that age. She's very good at kind of finding the buttons to push and stuff like that. So there is definitely weakness in there. I just can't be doing with another argument with her. But there's also flexibility, because she's at that age where there has to be, she's growing, she's learning her own sense of independence, and she's kind of creating her own sort of set boundaries and, her own guidelines for herself. So there has to be flexibility. But I do totally admit that there is definitely some weakness in there for me. And the other area for me is around clients, specifically the hours I work. And although this is much, much better these days, because I run my own business, certainly in the earlier days, I used to panic that if I didn't accept a client's call at whatever time it was, then I would never get any clients. If I didn't book an appointment at whatever time a client wanted, I would never have a business. So I used to, do all the hours, all the days, and obviously that's just going to lead to burnout. It's not healthy for me, which means actually I'm not giving the best to my clients. Um, so that is something that I am much, much better with. Still not perfect, still a work in progress, but much, much better with. So for you, where is your weakest boundary? And it could be with a person, it could be a situation. What do you feel is the weakest boundary that you kind of have going on for you? What's kind of coming up for you when you think about that? You think about your weakest boundaries, yeah. So I'm just going to do a quick check-in. Is everybody okay? Are we all still here? Are we all still getting on all right? Yep. Are we okay? Super. So next, we are going to look at where is the most difficult boundary to uphold. And for this, I really want you to be really specific. I want you to kind of be looking at this and sort of saying that the words along the lines of, I can't say no to. And noticing who it is, what is it, what situation, what person, getting into the detail, understanding what is that really difficult place for you. Again, noticing what we've already spoken about, noticing, why you can't say no, noticing kind of who these people are. Getting into that space for you to be able to begin to sort of start connecting some dots up. So an example that I use is for me, my ex-partner, and so it wasn't Christmas just gone, the Christmas before. I was going to be home alone for the whole Christmas because my daughter was going to her dad's. And my ex-partner was, I'm a huge believer in the law of attraction, and I believe I manifested him. He was my amazing husband, as I called him. We never got married, but that was kind of who I called him. That's what I sent out to the universe. I want my amazing husband. And so last Christmas, because I was going to be on my own, he'd reassured me that, you're definitely not going to be on your own. We didn't live together. Definitely not going to be on your own. I'm going to be here for you. We will definitely spend time together. I absolutely guarantee you won't be on your own. Now, unfortunately, he got unwell, which meant that his priority was to take care of himself, which I get. Obviously, if you're not well, you take care of yourself. But it was at the cost of me. Not only did I not see him, he didn't spend any time with me. He didn't even check in with me to see if I was okay. He knew the impact this was having on me, that my daughter was going to be away for the whole of the Christmas period, and didn't even check that I was okay. So understandably, I felt massively let down, massively. I did try to speak to him about it, but the one time I tried to speak to him about it, he kind of shut it down and avoided me. So he did the thing that I feared. He kind of pulled away. So recognizing kind of, where was that difficult boundary for me to uphold? It was really, really challenging, because he had given me information to say it's not safe for me to kind of uphold this boundary. So it's then beginning to look at, so why have we created limiting beliefs about this? And like I say, it's fear-based. We have fear around the possible consequence of upholding a boundary. And, that fear will just rage on and on and on until it's challenged. So it's kind of beginning to connect the dots now, yeah? We're going to go a bit deeper. We're going to kind of understand, what are the limiting beliefs? What are those really unhelpful beliefs that we hold of, if I put this boundary in, or if I uphold this boundary, what's the fear beneath that? And for me, with my ex-partner, my beliefs were, he won't speak to me. And he kind of had already demonstrated that anyway. He'll leave me. I will never get married. I'm going to have missed my one and only chance. He was the manifested one. I'm going to die alone, eaten by cats. It was all those kind of crazy talk, but they were the beliefs that were kind of going on in the back of my head. So for you, when you think about your experiences, when you think about, those times you found it really hard to say no, you found it really hard for you to kind of uphold your own boundaries, what are the beliefs that you're holding on to? What is that stuff that's going on in the back of your head? Again, connect the dots and just go that bit deeper. When we stay on the surface of fear, okay, what's the fear about? Yeah. And fear in itself is enough. But what is the fear? What is it we're actually fearing? So let's just do a little recap. Okay. So you understand who you learned about boundaries from. So we might not have ever have been taught, but we've learned about boundaries in the same way as we learn about love and about relationships. We've learned about them. You know who you can't say no to, even if you want to. You've got more clarity of what boundaries are like now, which is a really important starting place. And you know what better boundaries would look like. You know where your weakest boundaries are, and you're beginning to understand the limiting beliefs beneath that. So we've kind of done the who, what, where, and why. So obviously the next question has got to be when, when is it time to take action? And just continuing on with that story with my ex-partner, it took me 8 months of kind of sitting in that stagnation, that feeling resentful that I wasn't having my needs met. It was just a really uncomfortable time. Obviously, in that time, we were kind of kept moving apart because there was a huge wall between us of what was not being said, and it ended up being a really abrupt and traumatic ending. After, like I say, after 8 months, and if you're in the UK, you'll kind of know the geography of this. Unfortunately, I chose a time when we went on holiday together. We went down to Cornwall. Now I live in Cheshire, which is up in the northwest of England. We went to Cornwall for a few days. That was when I couldn't deal with it anymore. I couldn't cope with the discomfort anymore. It was more, I had more fear about staying in it than leaving it. So that was where I kind of ended up bringing it to a head, which meant that we then had a 5-hour drive together back home, which wasn't great, but there we go. I survived. I got through it. So for you, thinking about how long you've wasted to take action, yeah? How long have you spent sitting in this space waiting and kind of looking around at, when do you want to take action? When do you want to start supporting yourself and prioritizing your own needs? Yeah. So Kurt's saying, will you touch on understanding others' boundaries, especially when they are nuanced and deeply interpersonal? Okay, I'm going to ask you to come to, I've got a Q&A at the end, Kurt, so please can you ask me that at the end, and I will definitely get into that with you. So when is the best time to take action? And I wanted to share this quote with you because I love this quote from Stephen Bartlett. And it just says, the person that you are now is a consequence of how you used your time in the past. The person you'll become in the future is a consequence of how you use your time in the present. Spend your time wisely. And I just love that because it really helps you to get the concept of what you do today is planting the seeds for the future. Kind of beginning to really notice, and it is that thing of, so when do you believe is the best time to take action? Obviously, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, we know that. When's the second best time? Well, now. And it's kind of that thing, isn't it? Now is the time to do it. So what I want you to do is I want you to do this. I want you now to take some action. So thinking about what you've written about already, what you've kind of been thinking about, the person, the situation that you've been reflecting on, I want you to begin to look at what's the action that you want to take that you're feeling afraid of. Yeah. Beginning to notice that fear, the fear of the outcome. Is that fear rational? Is it realistic? If, God forbid, the worst case scenario happened, is that manageable? Would you survive that? Now, when I'm talking about this, I'm not speaking about, us going and doing the big, massive things. I'm talking about taking one step towards becoming the person that you want to be, becoming the person that does have lovely, healthy boundaries. So I'd love it if you could share now in the chat there, what's that one thing that you might be able to do? Like I say, we're not going to do the massive thing. We're not going to, tell somebody that if they ever speak to you like that again, you're never going to see them, when it actually might be your partner. That's going to be challenging. But it's kind of beginning to look at, what's one thing that you could begin to do? And I know I was speaking with a client a little while ago, and she found it really hard to, and it was with her partner, put boundaries in with her partner. But she'd never said, he would do something that upset her, but she would just swallow down that upset. She'd never said to him that he upset her, which meant he never knew. So he didn't even get the opportunity to correct his behavior because she'd never said it to him. So it's actually even looking at it from that perspective of when we give other people the information, they then get a choice. Do they want to respond to that? They might not. And, that is something that we need to consider. But just noticing that actually, if we've never given them the information, then it's unfair for us to feel resentful that they're not honoring our boundaries because they don't know the boundaries there. So I would love that for you. I would love it if you were able to share some of that stuff. What might be one thing that you could do to begin to take that action, making a visible commitment now, what might that be? And the more you're able to kind of share that stuff, the more you're able to kind of commit to it, the more you're able to stay accountable to it, to actually follow through with those steps, follow through with what it is that you want to be doing. So Stacey's saying enforcing a chain of command expectations, definitely. And that's exactly what we were just saying there, yeah. So how does that feel for you? How does it feel to make that commitment, to make that commitment to yourself? Yeah. And saying that I struggle with work-life boundaries, especially because working from home an awful lot. So I can have more regular start and end times and dress for the office, even at home. Do you know what? That is such an important part of working from home. I think, especially over COVID lockdown times when we were all, I say we, I wasn't, when lots of people were furloughed, we kind of acquired a new way of working. But that isn't always helpful, so actually treating it as work, treating it as important as getting up and going to the office, making it be, and even to the end of the day. I'm fortunate I have a separate office here at my home. I close that door, and when I go out of here, that's it, my work is done. So it doesn't kind of go into the rest of my house, whereas people were working from dining room tables, and it's kind of, you can't escape it almost. So I think, and that's a really lovely boundary for you to put in there. Well done. So let's look at kind of next steps, and I really would love for you to kind of just acknowledge for yourself, how does that feel to take that first step to what might have been a lifetime issue, what might have been something that has been consuming you for potentially many years. Like I say, it took 8 months for me to finally address the issue with my ex-partner. It took me many years to address the issue with my daughter's dad. There seems to be a theme here of where I'm struggling with my boundaries, but we'll do that a different time. But for you, how does it feel to know you've taken part in this? Yeah. And if you have taken part, I would really love for you to feel proud of that. I would love for you to notice actually what that's like for you. Yeah. That you're making a commitment. The fact that you're here, you're making that commitment, you're taking the time to make things feel better for yourself. Yeah. I would love it just now, and I would love all of you to do this. Everybody, if you've not commented anything else, I would love it if you would just share one thing that you're taking away from this masterclass now. Yeah, I would love for you to kind of just notice what's one thing that you're going to walk away with. Ashley said there that pros and cons. Will the discomforts of expressing boundaries outweigh the discomforts of accepting behaviors? And that's really it, isn't it? And I think that was the place that I'd got to with my ex-partner. It was the discomfort of being in this resentful, stagnant place was too great, and the fear of the end of the relationship was less than the fear of staying in it. Yeah, so it was, the balance had shifted. I still wouldn't recommend you waiting 8 months to kind of do that. But yeah, it's kind of beginning to look at what can you do? How can you, even just the smallest of steps. So Anne is saying her biggest takeaway here is exploring some of the fears that might be underlying, yeah, by not setting boundaries. And it is, once we actually understand the specific thing, we can begin to do something with it, can't we? One of my phrases I always love using is, with awareness comes choice. So once we have that awareness, once we have the awareness of what it is that we're afraid of, then we can address it. We can do something with it. Yeah. Stacey saying not identifying and setting my own boundaries means I am at the mercy of somebody else's decisions. Do you know what? It's crazy how much control we give to other people of our lives, and they haven't even got a clue that they're in control of our lives. That is, and that's massive. You know, that is such a huge thing that we just don't even get. We don't understand it. We don't comprehend it until I show it to you. And then when I show it to you, which is one of the things I love doing with clients, is showing them, you know, how much control they're handing over to somebody. And it's somebody who they don't want to have control of them. Yeah. Dawn saying fear in my case, it's really all about fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. And it is recognizing what that fear is really important, Dawn, because then you can begin to do something about that fear of being on your own, where you can find people to spend time with, fear of not being enough. That's some inner work that you can do, you know, definitely we can look at that. But it's not allowing that fear to direct your life. Yeah. I'm going to let you continue typing in and sharing with me. I really would love it if you'd share with me what's the biggest takeaway you're taking away. But I am going to ask, you know, so what next? What is the next steps that you can take here now? And, you know, this is where I am going to make an invitation to you. So if you want to start making changes and you want some support to get there faster, again, you know, getting rid of that fear, then I'm going to invite you to work with me. If you are tired of feeling undervalued, out of control, we've just been speaking about that, feeling empty, and you're ready to feel genuinely appreciated, you're ready to kind of feel empowered in your choices, that's such a massive part of it, and you're ready to have a deep sense of contentment, if you're ready to feel loved and accepted exactly as you are here now, then I'm going to invite you to book a call with me. And what we can do is we will chat for about 20 minutes and explore what levels of support might feel right for you. There's not going to be any hard sell because I just don't do it. But it's kind of beginning to look at how you might get some support, how you might begin making the change, I should say, to help you to get to where you want to be faster and with support, not trying to do it all by yourself. And, you know, I know I have done that in the past, tried to do it, which is why, you know, it took me however many years with my daughter's dad before I put that lovely boundary in place. And so full transparency, working with me, the price ranges are anything from £99 for a power hour that we spend an hour together and kind of really hash it out, right through to I do a comprehensive coaching package, which is 1997. I also have free resources, so you know that might be the better place for you to go. There is definitely something for everybody in there, you know, every sort of person, every budget. So if that felt like something that you would like to do, I'm just going to pop a link into the chat there if you want to take a look at that. Let me do that. That's where you can go and book a call with me. There are some fast acting bonuses because I always like to kind of reward people who take action, reward those action takers. So if you book a call with me before midnight on Sunday, which is, we've still got a couple of days, so actually book the call, not actually take it necessarily, but book the call, then there will be a discount on the packages that I offer if you pay in full. But everybody who chooses to go on and work with me will get that Living Your Limitless Life digital program for free, which is valued at £97. So you've kind of got all the information now. You've got the information to decide how you might want to move forwards. I do just want to say thank you again, everybody, for joining me this evening. It really does help me when I can see lovely faces there. I can see the engagement. That's it for the presentation. If anybody has got any questions, then please do let me know. I do have a couple, and this might be where I'm answering some of the questions that were asked a bit earlier, or some of the questions that were sent in by email, because these are quite common questions that I get asked a lot. So one question is, what steps can I take to set boundaries without feeling guilty or selfish? And this is one of the hardest things, feeling guilty for setting boundaries. So many people feel that. But what I always sort of encourage my clients to think about is what you're asking for unreasonable? Yeah. So if somebody asked you for the same thing, would you judge them for asking you for it? You know, would you judge another person for asking for the same thing? And if not, then it's just kind of reassuring yourself that it's not your guilt. And don't get me wrong, the guilt will come back. Of course it will. But then it's just kind of doing that work again of, is what I'm asking for unreasonable? You know, would I judge somebody else? If not, then it's not my guilt. And it's just practicing that, practicing reassuring yourself that it's not your guilt, which is really good. Again, it will take practice. It does take practice, but it's really getting into that space of reassuring yourself. Another question is, how do I know if I have unhealthy boundaries, and what are some common signs to look out for? And this is a really great question, because if you've, again, we never get sat down and taught about boundaries. So we can kind of feel quite uncertain about, you know, well, where are my boundaries? Are they good? Are they healthy? So I did a quiz that you can complete. It's free of charge. I'm going to pop another link for you into the chat there. Oops. And this kind of asks you some questions. I think it's about 14 questions, something like that. But then it gives you a score at the end, and also then some suggestions about how you can kind of move forwards from wherever you're at in that score. But having that sense of, you know, is it quite a low score? So do we need to look at kind of doing some deeper work? Is it quite a high score? And actually, it's just in some areas. I would not get 100% on this, by the way. Again, just to clarify, I am not perfect with my boundaries. It is a constant, not constant, that sounds a bit harsh. It is a work in progress. It's a practice that I continue to practice putting healthy boundaries in. So please don't feel that you know, anybody on this earth has got their boundaries 100%. I doubt it very much. They may have good boundaries, but they're not perfect. Not everybody will score 100% on there. And one more question that I've got here is, how do I handle situations where others push back or disregard the boundaries that I've set? And this is a really valuable question, because this is about beginning to notice the choices that you've got available to you. So you can continue to spend time with this person, even though they are disrespecting your boundaries, but noticing the choice, noticing I'm choosing to spend time with this person, can again just help you to feel a bit more empowered, a bit more in control of the situation, because it's a choice that you're making. You might choose to limit the time you spend with that person. You know, if you notice that actually you feel really angry and resentful every time you see them, you might choose to limit the time so that it doesn't build up so much. You might choose not to spend time with them. And again, this is something that I have worked with clients to support them through, is, you know, choosing not to have contact with people who do not take care of them in any way. You know, that they're actually quite, what's the word? Negative is a bit bland, but you know, that they're quite harmful, really, because of their complete lack of respect for their boundaries. But it's noticing the choice that you've got around all of those things. You know, you get to choose whether you spend time with them or not, and sitting in that choice, noticing that choice, just helps you to feel more in control of it. You cannot make them change. You cannot make anybody respect your boundaries. And that is, you know, once you understand that, you're kind of ahead of the game almost. You know, we can't control anybody else in this world. We can only control our response to them. So by choosing whether you spend time with them or not, is you taking control of it. Yeah, we can't make them respect your boundaries, but we can choose whether or not we spend time with them. And again, I appreciate that's not always a straightforward choice that we get to make. You know, like I said, I've worked with clients who have chosen to cut contact with their mom, and that's been a really hard time for them. You know, it's been a really tough decision, but the impact of the negativity that they were getting from their mom meant that, again, it's that payoff. What's gonna feel worse and what's gonna feel better? Yeah. There's no hard and fast rule, but notice the choices that you've got available to you. So, let me see. I did see a couple of questions come through. Ashley saying, finding comfort in knowing many ways to relate, which I think will help me realize my fears may not always come to life. Yes, that's a really important one. Was there anything before that? No. Stacey said, how do you manage when others do not like the boundaries and push back? I think I've just answered that. And especially when it's coming from a work setting and is coming from a superior. That is obviously, that is a challenging one when it's an employment situation. So again, there's a couple of ways you can choose how you want to manage that. Do you want to be in that environment? You know, and again, I'm not saying quit, but do you want to be in that environment? Do you want to choose to stay in that environment if that is the treatment you're being given? If not, then again, I'm not saying quit, but maybe it is for you to choose to look somewhere else. Yeah, if it depends on the impact it's having on you. We can't make that superior behave differently. Don't get me wrong. Now, if this is workplace bullying, then obviously I would hope that you go through a workplace procedure to challenge that. But it's noticing the choices that you've got available for you, because you can't make them do anything different. If that isn't an environment that you want to be in, then you've got the space to choose to be in a different environment. But it's noticing that choice for yourself, Stacey. Yeah, noticing that you get to choose to be there or not. And if you choose to be there, just noticing that choice, noticing that, and it is kind of having this language in your head. Well, I'm going to choose to be here today, but I could choose to have my noticing. If that person annoys me too much, I can choose to have my noticing and get away from it, which then just feels like it's less intense, less pressure on you. You feel a bit more empowered in the space. I hope that helps. And Ashley said, if it's someone in your workplace, how do you choose how to approach it? Because you have to see them. And again, I hope that that's just answered it for you, Ashley. You know, I'm not saying these are easy choices. I'm not saying these are easy conversations. I'm not saying that this is all dead, you know, dead straightforward. It is straightforward. But it's being able to put these things in place. And again, this is where I support my clients, is really giving them the confidence in themselves that they are worth making these choices for themselves. Because so many people, and this does kind of tie in, when we struggle to put our boundaries in, it's because quite often there's a message in the back of our head that says we don't deserve that good treatment. We don't deserve having good things in our lives. When actually we all deserve respect. There's no kind of question on that. And if people aren't respecting your boundaries, then you get to choose whether or not you continue to accept that, or whether you choose to do something different. Again, I know I appreciate that that can sound a bit cut and dried, but that's the reality of it. You know, it's kind of beginning to make those choices, and they are difficult choices. Again, I'm not saying that they're not. But hopefully that kind of does answer a little bit of what you were sort of asking there. I'm just going to stop my screen share because I don't think we need that there anymore. Any other questions? Anybody else got anything? So Kurt, I'm hoping that that kind of answered your stuff that you were asking as well, around other people. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask me any more about what you were saying before.
Thank you for the beautiful session. So as someone who's only recently discovered boundaries and the word and how they work, mostly because I walked into a few doors where people are very good at using them. So I recently moved to San Francisco, and people are very good at telling you what their boundaries are, which made me realize I wasn't, and find it hard to say no. And the reflection I've had, I'm very good with the kids and setting boundaries for them. Like, in fact, I'm like an ace at boundaries for the kids. Maybe I should listen to theirs too. But what I realized is, especially when there's a cultural difference, is how do you pick up the nuance of what those boundaries are? Like, how can you elicit someone and give them permission and space to share their boundaries freely or more openly? Because that can lead to so much of a better relationship. And I know I'm throwing the conversation on its head, but for someone that's a strong, powerful communicator, I have to learn how to hear other people. And boundaries could be a very powerful way of understanding. And so that's my question, is how can I be more sensitive? How can I create a space to hear someone else's boundaries?
And I would probably just really recommend you be curious about it, be curious about what might their boundaries be, but it's their job to tell you their boundaries. in the same way as it's your job to share yours. Yeah. I mean, obviously, and as we were just saying there about another manager, you know, clearly there's a manager, supervisor, I can't remember what the word was, a boss who wasn't being receptive to boundaries. If kind of somebody's being quite bullheaded about it, then it's very hard to feel that you can tell them what your boundaries are. But for you, if you be quite open and honest and kind of even just saying something around, you know, I find the cultural difference difficult to read sometimes. If you ever feel I'm stepping over a boundary, please do tell me. So you're giving them that information, yeah, and then they have the space, and it's their job then to say it or not. Yeah, that feel good? Super. Anything else? Any other questions from anybody? While I'm here, I'm more than welcome, more than welcome. I'm more than happy to answer questions if there's anything else that anybody wanted to ask at all. But if not, I will let you all go. Thank you again so much for all joining me. I really do appreciate it. It is so good. I love doing these masterclasses. It's so helpful to kind of share this information for people to kind of hear the different perspectives. Yeah. Thank you. You're so welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, and I will see you all soon. All right, you take care now. Bye.